What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Alright, so before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to a few subscribers for showing love to the channel today. I want to give a shout out to the brother Claiborne Bell for the $12 donation via the PayPal. Alright, much respect to him for once again showing love to Too Raw for TV. I also want to give a shout out to the brother, the man, the myth, the legend, the brother Robert Mason, coming through once again with a donation. And I'm glad that you enjoyed that Bill Walton video I did the other day. Much respect to you for showing love to the channel. Also want to give a shout out to the brother Garrett Benson for the $5 donation via the PayPal. Much respect to him for showing love. And last but not least, the brother Aram, the old school lover, I want to thank him for the $10 donation to the channel via the PayPal. And I see your video request. And give me a little bit of time on that, because I'm getting a lot of video requests. I need to start writing some of this stuff down. Give me about always a week, and do a little bit of research just to bone up on stuff. And you know what I'm saying, if you catch me forgetting, just remind me in the comment section. So shout out to all of you all. So this is a video request. Someone wanted me to give my opinion on who was better at their peak. Not who's the better all-around player or who's the best player historically, but who was better at their peak, Kawhi Leonard or LeBron James. Now, obviously, LeBron James is no longer in his prime. He had a hell of a prime, but he's no longer in his prime. And Kawhi Leonard appears to be, even though he's only 31, I think he'll be 32 later on this year. He appears to be going into the downside of his career a little bit. So who was better at their peak? Keep in mind, this isn't a historical ranking. This isn't saying who's the better all-around player, I guess. Historically, who was better at their absolute peak? To me, LeBron was at his best during his Miami Heat years. All right? During his Miami Heat years, he was at his best. Kawhi Leonard, to me, was at his best, I would say, 2017 to 2020-ish. I mean, you could argue 2021 too, I guess, but those were his best years as far as peak. Now, who was better? Okay, who was the better scorer? Now, this is a convoluted question, because if you go on a per game basis, if you go on accomplishments, it's LeBron, right? I mean, LeBron is the all-time leading scorer. LeBron has a scoring title. LeBron has a slightly higher career field goal percentage. I think it's something like 50.4%. Kawhi is something around 49.5%, I guess. Somewhere in that range. The raw numbers suggest that LeBron is the better scorer. Okay. Just from career scoring average, field goal percentage, things of that nature. But Kawhi is a much better shooter. All right? Kawhi has a much better mid-range jumper, obviously. That's always been the weakness of LeBron. He kind of became a little bit more consistent with the mid-range in Miami, but since he returned to Cleveland, it's been a downward trend with his mid-range. Three-point shooting, LeBron has improved from his earlier years when he was like 29, 30% or something like that. He's about this year about 31%. He's down this year. Last year I think he was around 34%. But he's never been a league average three-point shooter. Kawhi is something around. Let's give a check. Look at these guys' numbers before I keep talking. This year Kawhi is 24 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. Kawhi's, well, I'll get to that later on. This year Kawhi Leonard is shooting 42% from beyond the arc, and he's shooting 52% from the floor. So he's actually shooting better, I believe, than LeBron James this year, even though he takes more mid-range jumpers than LeBron. But LeBron takes more three-point attempts, even though he's not as good a three-point shooter as Kawhi. But what brings up LeBron's field goal percentage is the amount of buckets that he scored the paint or near the or in the paint area. LeBron is not a terrible free throw shooter, but he's a subpar one. For his career, he's around 74% or so. This season, the last time I checked it, he was around 73%, somewhere in that range, 71%, somewhere in the lower 70s. Kawhi, for his career, is an 86% free throw shooter. This season, he's at 87%. The last 3 years, he's been around an 88% free throw shooter. And since the 2015-16 season, for the most part, he's been an excellent free throw shooter. Since 2015-16, he's been an 87% free throw shooter. So as a shooter, Kawhi definitely has a huge advantage over LeBron James. LeBron is, of course, a physical specimen, 6'8". I don't know. He came into the league around 240. Right now, he's probably in the 270 range, I guess, somewhere in that range. Kawhi is not as big, 6'7", 225. Kawhi, of course, in my opinion, he plays sort of. You can tell he's patterned his game a little bit after Kobe, a little bit after older Michael Jordan, I would say. Definitely with, Kawhi has the pull-up J. Kawhi obviously has other things in this game, the fadeaway. These are things that LeBron has, but he's not perfected it. They're not really signature moves. His signature move is the drive to the basket. That's LeBron. He kills you with his physicality. Kawhi Leonard kills you with his skill, okay? And when he gets it going, he's a mid-range master and a shooter extraordinaire. Playmaking. LeBron kills Kawhi Leonard. I mean, he kills him. Even though I sometimes think LeBron's passing ability is a little bit overrated when they be comparing him to like the all-time greats like Stockton and Magic. I don't think he belongs on those guys' level. But LeBron is definitely one of the better passers in the NBA. The only problem is, over the last few years, he's become more of a scorer, which flies in the face of this lie that, he's not really a scorer. Well, yes, he is. How is a guy that won a scoring title, and how is a guy that was definitely trying to win a scoring title last year, if he had played enough games, he would have qualified to challenge Embiid. But how is a guy doing that not a scorer? Kawhi has gotten better with his playmaking, but that is not his strength. That is not his strength. His strength is doing what Kawhi does, which is scoring the basketball. And, in his prime, playing on both ends of the floor. This is another area where Kawhi has a distinct edge over LeBron. Now look, LeBron in Miami was an improved defender. Make no mistake about it. I would say in Miami he was an above average defender, even though he still was not the best defender on the team. And, the culture of Miami dictated that he improve on that end of the floor. That's the one franchise he played for where, his tendency to try to take over a franchise didn't work. That was Pat Riley's franchise. There's a certain culture there, and when he tried to get Spoelstra fired, that shit didn't work because Pat Riley's not having that bullshit. And Shane Battier, I think, helped LeBron, especially with his defense. He wasn't the most fundamentally sound defender, but most definitely he gave more effort consistently in Miami than in any other time of his career, except for maybe in the bubble. And maybe his first year back in Cleveland. But afterwards, bad habits started falling with LeBron James, some of the bad habits. In Miami, I believe that the Heat team practiced. Cleveland, they started having bad habits. You know what I'm saying? Playing to the level of their competition, whatever. Anyway, not trying to say Kawhi's not a diva, because he's possibly an even worse diva than LeBron James. And even though we used to give him the benefit of the doubt at first, Kawhi has revealed himself to be the biggest diva in the NBA. And, unfortunately, he's popularized this load management crap. But as a defender, Kawhi Leonard, in his best years, was the best two-way player in the NBA for a few seasons. Of course, he has a defensive, one Defensive Player of the Year award. Let me check that out. Give me 1 second. No, Kawhi has two. I was thinking it was two. Kawhi has two back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year awards. So with that type of resume, 3 times being on the all-defensive first team, 4 times all-defensive second team, leading the league in steals in 2014-15, Kawhi kills LeBron when it comes to defense. One of the things that helps him is his large hands, which helps him be a great finisher offensively, but a guy with his reach, getting to the passing lanes, his strength, it helps his lateral quickness in his better years, even though I think he's starting to slow down now. These are things that help to make Kawhi one of the best, as a matter of fact, the best two-way player in the NBA for a few years. Kawhi also, incidentally, I think, especially, let me make sure about this. Kawhi also was a pretty strong rebounder for his position. Between 2016 and 2020, despite being a small forward, he averaged about 6.6 rebounds per game. And this is for a guy that's not exactly the biggest player out there. LeBron, to be 6'9" and 270, 280, he averages more rebounds, but considering his size, he's not the strongest rebounder we've ever seen. And as amazing as this sounds, even though LeBron James has played in 300-something more games and has played in 5 more seasons than Michael Jordan, he still trails him in offensive rebounding. So that just goes to show you how he's a weak rebounder. So, other aspect of basketball I want to talk about, heart. Both have flaws in this one. LeBron is a guy that has longevity, but his durability has gone down with the Lakers, and that's kind of to be expected for a guy that has so much wear and tear on him. LeBron's problem is late game situations. For 46 minutes of a 48-minute game, LeBron could be the best player or one of the best players we've ever seen. But something mentally happens to LeBron in certain moments where his fans will say he plays the percentages. But to me, when you're the best player on the floor and you're the best scorer on the floor, you have to get it done. Unless it's a situation where you're being doubled and someone else has the hot hand, that's something different. But you can't always, chew out Mario Chalmers because he didn't make a shot at the end of the game when he didn't touch the basketball for 2 quarters. You know what I mean? You can't score 51 points and then turn around and blame J.R. Reed for a loss in the finals, even though he did do something stupid. It has to be on you. Kawhi Leonard is a clutch player. His problem is actually being out there and playing and contributing for the team. You know what I mean? So his problem is is not necessarily his stamina, but his availability. It's terrible. This is a guy that has missed over 37% of the games in his career, 355 games and counting. He's missed close to 4 out of every 10 games in his career. So who had the better peak? LeBron James' peak was longer. During that peak, he won 3 championships. I don't consider him to be in his peak when he's with the Lakers. But during his peak, he won 3 championships. His peak to me was Miami and maybe the first... I would go all the way to his last year in Cleveland. So during that span, he went to what? 8 NBA finals? And he won 3 of them during that span. So that's a 37.5% winning percentage in the finals. During that time, he had 3 finals MVPs. I think he won during that span with Miami. I think he won two league MVPs. The other 2 came in Cleveland the first time. I need to look at some things. I need to look at some things before I go forward. Just trying to see things that he had accomplished during those years. During those years, 3-time NBA champion, not including the one with the Lakers. During those years, 3-time Finals MVP, 2 league MVPs during that time period. Every year he was an All-Star. He won 1 All-Star Game MVP during that span. The other 2 came during his first stint with the Cavaliers. All-NBA first team during that entire span. He was on 4 all-defensive first teams and 1 all-defensive second team. And that's his resume during that span. For Kawhi's, was a little bit smaller. I'd say 2016 to 2000. Let's go 2015 to 2020. 2 championships, 2 Finals MVPs, 5-time NBA All-Star, 4-time, because I got to take 1 away. All-Star Game MVP, 2-time All-NBA first team, 1 All-NBA second team, 2. 2-time Defensive Player of the Year, 3 All-Defensive first teams, 3 All-Defensive second teams, steals leader. Man, who had the better peak? Man. I'm going to have to go with LeBron. And I'm going to tell you why. Because even when Kawhi was at his best, during those years, you could argue that he was still not better for stretches than LeBron or Kevin Durant, right? Whereas with LeBron, from 2012 to 2020, initially you could say, well, 2010 to 2018, excuse me. You could argue Kobe was better. Then for a couple of years, I really can't see anybody other than LeBron being better. From 2013 to 15, LeBron was better. He was the best player in the league. Some of those years you could argue maybe KD, maybe Steph Curry, but a lot of people tell you LeBron was the better player. I mean, some of the things he was doing, man, you just got to give it to him, man. The way that he nearly took that Cavaliers team to a Game 7 without Kevin Durant, without Kyrie Irving for most of their finals. Some of the dominance that he displayed in the playoffs, I got to give it to LeBron. I know a lot of us get on the guy, man, but LeBron was something else, man, in his prime. So I give it to LeBron. But you guys may not agree, but tell me what you guys think.